first time I got to know that I could make my own paper was actually at a College of Art in Buffalo, upstate New York, where Professor Frank Eckmeyer, he said to me that I could make my own paper out of the pants I was wearing, which were Levi's. I said, really? I have always been doing something with my hands. I've been painting, I've used threads, glass fiber, latex. I always looked into something that I could construct myself. I didn't like just to go and buy a canvas. I also did that, but I thought it was like just building on something I didn't really know. It was like plastic-like, the surface. And when I saw that I could decide myself which substance I could paint on, or with, because you can actually paint with the paper, then I knew immediately that that was my medium. In the beginning, I made huge installation pieces like the paper house here, you know. It's a big greenhouse at a museum in Denmark. Here also at Gentofte Art Library in Denmark. It's a very beautiful space where I lifted up the space with transparent walls. I decided when I left the United States that I would visit all the remaining old paper mills in the world. And I realized that most of the places, they have like a museum-like way of existence. But I wanted to make my own place. My aim was to be able to paint on the paper and expose the paper. That was a challenge. I wanted the paper to collaborate with the paint. That means, depending on how I cut the fiber, the paper will absorb the paint. If it's cut very short, it says, you know that. If it's cut for a very long time, it will reject the color. You need to experiment a lot. Like you can use the pulp in itself, you can color the pulp, you can throw the pulp, you can spray the pulp, you can paint with the pulp. And then you can combine that with sheet making. There are hundreds of variations, and that's what I use when I paint. Because I cannot build up a huge piece. I cannot make a sheet of paper like that. But many people think that I have the canvas and then I glue it on small bits, but I'm not doing that. I'm making the sheets, and the cellulose in itself binds the sheets together. And I have no glue in it. So it's that collaboration between what am I actually going to paint? What is it for a story I want to tell? It can be influenced also by the way the paper is produced, because it's like a fusion of the two. So it's not like I just make a white paper and then I paint on top of it. I came home, I spoke about it, I made lectures, and then I wrote a book in '85. Oh, this is Cavaliera from Italy. Those are the guys I love. This is the first book I made. This is paper making, art and technique. And this is paper making 3, the paper makers of the future. And this is like analyzing who are those guys making paper today and what kind of people. And it is from 20 countries I have visited. Burma, how they make gold foil paper, how they beat gold foil between bamboo papers. One can learn a lot by looking into what did nomads and tribes and do 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, you know? And as I just told Marty before, NASA, they are working with origami to build up their spacecrafts. How important it is to look back in history and see how we can develop from there. And I also see a tendency now that a lot of, especially young designers, are more and more interested in using plant fibers. I mean, everything is possible. There are also some of the plant, there's grapefruit over there behind. and horsetail. And then here, there's the other fibers, which each has a different style. This is straw, this paper here. This is koso, this is seaweed, this is straw, and this is papyrus. This is grass, and this is Manila hemp beaten for 8 hours, so this is a very sharp sound. There are some words which have become very fashionable today, like sustainability, and we are working with bio, this and that. I think one has to be very careful, and I hope they will invent some new words for that, because it sounds, and my vocabulary, too smart. Too many young designers just want to be sustainable, then everything will be fantastic. But it's not so easy, you know. But I see a big future for cellulose and what the plants can be used for, because now everything is about nature, you know. All art exhibitions, nature, nature, nature. But I mean, I have been working with nature for 40 years now, so for me it's not new. But I'm happy to help opening up the eyes of other things that is hidden in that. Some people come because they are looking for a special paper. Some people come by just because they're curious. The reason why I called it the Paper Academy, it's a place where people can get into what is actually behind what they call paper, because nobody thinks about paper. And I had a group of children. I asked them, do you know anything about paper? And they were like 8, 9 years old, and they were like thinking very, very hard. And then the little guy said, yes, it's an A4. And then I said, yes, it says something about its size, but do you know what it's made of? And then science. So I said, now today we're going to find out what paper is made of. And then you should have seen them when they made their first sheet of paper. They were so happy. And the first thing they asked their parents when they saw them, Mom, what is paper made of?